Okay, this is the actual thing now. Okay.
Recording.
I gotta clap though. Ready? You wanna clap with me?
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Oh crap! I forgot to spit out my gum.
It's fine.
Want it?
No.
I
Stop.
have no place to put it. Okay. Your assistant took it.
Okay. So we're starting. You don't want headphones, right?
No, I don't want headphones. It messes my hair.
Okay. So welcome to the second episode of the podcast. Today we have my beautiful grandmother on. Do you want to tell them a little about yourself?
I'm Alex's grandma. I live in New Hampshire. I grew up in the 60s and 70s. That in itself has a lot to say.
Try and pull the mic a little closer to you.
And what else would you like to know? Grew up in New York City.
Yeah. What are your feelings about me?
I love you. Alec is my favorite person on the planet.
I meant more like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
What did you mean more like?
I don't know. What are your feelings about me in, like, video games? I know you have feelings about those.
I'm not a fan of video games. I think they teach your generation
You can
how
just go.
to be
You're going to be in the shop. It's
alone. They encourage that. I think they also encourage not being realistic. You can have an avatar, you can have a skin, and it's not you.
I mean, I get that, but, okay, so you think that it makes people not real?
No, not real. I think it stops them from socializing in reality.
Well, isn't gaming socializing? And, I mean, I get
But not on a personal level. I mean, you don't get to see that actual person. You don't get to know the actual person. You get to know the avatar.
Well, what about, like, because most people I play games with, it's my friends that I know in real life.
Right.
Is that different, or is that
And they
the
don't
same?
take on different personas when they're playing a game?
Not necessarily, no.
But they do.
How?
Because they become that avatar. They become that creature. They become that person when they play the game. They live outside of their own realities.
I mean, yeah, but isn't that, I mean, so okay. I get that point, but, like, isn't that a good thing?
No.
I mean, back in the day when people smoked or did weed, that was to escape from reality.
When I was growing up, Sonny, when we wanted to engage one another or play, we met in person in the street or in someone's home, and we engaged in person, and we dealt in real life issues and real life problems. Now, a lot of that is manufactured in your generation, and the real important stuff doesn't necessarily get discussed because you're living in an altered universe.
So, okay, do you think there's any helpful aspect? There's a lot of sort of political and educational things. So, like, you know the game Minecraft, right?
Vaguely.
You know what the base of it? It's like building, essentially, with, like, blocks.
Listen, the game I know the best is when we had the snowball fight in the fort. I don't even know what that's called.
That was an Elsa game.
And
yeah.
it was Elsa, and I failed miserably at it, okay?
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, in Minecraft, there's in Saudi Arabia and, like, sort of Middle East, there's a lot of banned.
The camera's shaking. Just
sorry, it's my foot. There's a lot of pieces of literature that are banned.
Right.
But they can go onto Minecraft because it's I mean, I don't know the whole legality of it, but in Minecraft, there's a server where it has all these different, like, banned books that you can go and read for free. It's like this library of, like, books that they can't necessarily get access to.
Well, that might be helpful if you were living in Saudi Arabia, but you're not.
Well, no, I'm just saying there is benefits
and
to
you can
games.
read all the books that you want.
There is benefits to games outside of escaping from reality, because I see it as I think escaping from reality is a good thing, especially.
Well, I think now, especially in the world we're living in with COVID and being involved in a war and all the stresses that you kids have to put up with, I think it's good to have fantasy play. I think it's good. I think what my generation found in books and in movies, your generation finds in in games, in gaming. So yeah, there is an outlet for that, but to spend hours and hours in virtual reality, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense.
So, okay, 'cause you said virtual reality. Do you mean like
I don't mean I mean in game.
digital?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Okay.
You're shaking the can. You are shaking the can.
I'm
Or are
not-
you shaking? You're gonna blame me later.
um.
Grandmas are always to blame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I guess so because we talked like the political side. Do you like?
The political side of gaming.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. I guess one thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about because you grew up in a lot of wartime era, right?
Vietnam War.
Vietnam. Were you in the Gulf War?
The Falklands.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was always a war going on. It was very good for the economy.
And so I'm sure you saw a lot of propaganda, right, from like the government. I mean, there was some. So I'm very interested. There's an article that just came out that I can show you after, and it was saying how. So the game? It's called Call of Duty. You know what Call of Duty is? The shooting one.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of files that have come out saying about how the government like funds these games. So like, remember how Top Gun was funded by the government, like the military. The same thing with the government, the Call of Duty. They're funding Call of Duty, and so like, what are your thoughts about that?
The government has always been involved with propaganda. When I was growing up, they liked to point the finger at the Russians that were full of propaganda, but in essence, it was us. I mean, we were out. I don't want to get into a political debate necessarily, discussion, but we were outright lied to about the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
We were told that we weren't in Cambodia, and we were. They controlled some of the input into the movies. The nightly news, not so much. It was much different then. The nightly news, for the most part, tried to tell the truth. So we were shown pictures of the war daily and the bloodshed and the gore daily.
Mm-hmm.
My generation was much more active than yours in protesting the war and getting the word out as to exactly what was happening. So I'm not sure how you want to correlate that to gaming today.
Well, I think my sort of idea is looking at these games. It almost seems like the government is trying to, or the military at least, is trying to allow people to forgive them and show them that they're acknowledging their mistake, because there's a lot of these games, especially Call of Duty, where they're very transparent about the Americans' involvement. The third most recent Call of Duty was Call of Duty Cold War. It was always about the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of missions and like messages about how America wasn't supposed to be in Vietnam, and we had a lot of shady shit with like the CIA and like the Russians and what's the mine project called during the Cold War? It was some Russian name. But no, so do you think that's enough for the government to sort of qualm themselves or rid themselves of their sins by like funding these video games to sort of show people the truth about what really happened?
Do I think it's enough? No, I don't think it's enough. I think it's ridiculous to even think that. I think they owe the American people an apology, and I think they owe the American people the truth. And the military is part of the government, by the way.
Yeah, but yeah, I know.
So they're just as responsible as the other branches of the government.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. What else do you want to talk about?
I don't know. You want to talk about what?
So, I mean, you're my guest. I mean, yeah, I would like to talk about gaming.
Do you want to veer off into something else?
What would you like to gear off to?
I don't know. I didn't think we would be going there, but how about how much you love your grandmother? You want to start there? No?
Okay. Yeah, we can.
You're my best buddy, and I love you. No, that's kind of corny, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Politics, that normally causes an argument. I guess maybe the generational differences. What do you think?
About like the war stuff?
We could talk about the war. We could talk about how parents are much more. I feel it was safer when your parents were growing up. Excuse me. Certainly when I was growing up, than it is now. I mean, we didn't have to worry about getting shot up in school.
Do you think that video games had a cause in that, the violence aspect?
Good way of bringing that around. I think it glorified. Well, I can't speak for every game, but I can speak for the ones I know, and I do definitely think it glorifies violence and machismo. Everybody's got to be big and brave and fight.
Yeah.
And it puts a shine on something where a shine doesn't belong. I think it also it plays a small part in glorifying weapons, especially military weapons, military grade weapons, and guns in general.
Yeah.
I think it's contributory.
Yeah, I mean, I know the most recent Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, I mean, obviously it's called Modern Warfare, so you have like modern weapons, which in itself is kind of fucked up. And the campaign's like story mode, so you play against like NPCs essentially. It literally is just like war crime simulator. Like there's just one part of the mission where you're at like the Mexico-Texas border, and you cross it because you're like a border agent on the Mexican side.
Well, let me ask you this then: why play it?
Well, because.
Like,
well, what do you mean? Why play it?
Where does what gives you the woody that like what?
Well, there's no woody.
What gets you off in playing these stupid games?
It's for me. It's the mechanics, like, and that's not. And that's not like the only game that I play. Like I would say.
I understand, but these games have a high density of violence and of weaponry. Because it's not just guns and automatic weapons, it's knives, it's choose your weapon, choose the battle. Isn't there enough violence? I mean, how do you explain the escalating violence in this country? How do you explain the escalating anti-Semitism?
Well, I don't know if anti-Semitism is a good topic to go off to, but I guess like.
Well, I think it does because it's like this guy against this guy. It's always pitting one against the other.
Yeah, I mean,
is there a video game? And I don't know the answer to this, but is there a video game that that functions on teamwork?
Oh, there's plenty of video games. I mean,
how do they work?
The Call of Duty games themselves, they have co-op missions where you have to work with a team. There's games like called It Takes Two, which is like it's a cartoony like game where it's like little arcade games where you have to play with two people.
Well, it's not one of the little arcade games.
Well, what do you mean?
I'm talking about like Call of Duty teamwork. I'm talking about a game where there's violence that requires teamwork.
Well, yeah, I mean Call of Duty. I mean, so you want to consider
like military warfare games.
They all have teamwork involved with them.
Yeah, so they're grooming you to join the military.
I think they're grooming younger kids.
How boot camp works.
That's what I was getting into with the propaganda thing.
They break you down, and they make you a killing machine.
And that's what I was getting into, the propaganda thing.
It's that simple. It's that simple. If you join the military, especially if there's an active war, especially with the Marines, but with the Army too, they break you down, they build you back up to be a violent individual. Then, especially in Vietnam and also now, these soldiers, men and women, come out from war and they're broken. They have PTSD, they have anger issues, and they know how to use a weapon.
So do you think that, now this is obviously a conspiracy, but like, do you think these games are sort of being used to get rid of that broken out of the Army part because they're already so desensitized to killing to where it becomes this like second nature kind of thing?
No.
Because I know Papa...
no, I think they're used rather for those men and women going into the military and those who are very damaged by the military to live out their fantasies, which then become reality at times.
Do you think that it could ever be helpful to have that outlet of, instead of going out and killing real people, killing virtual, like
An
digital
avatar?
people. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think if you look at the profile of many mass murderers, a lot of them, they're male, they're white,
Mm-hmm.
and they sit in their basements and play these games for hours.
Yeah.
I don't think that's coincidental.
Yeah. I mean, you also talk about this a lot. You talk about parenting a lot. Do you think that what?
You're shaking the camera.
Sorry. You talk about parenting a lot and how
Shake it again.
this generation's parents are not the most, I guess, involved is the word you would use.
Well,
Do you think that it's sort of like it's a domino effect where these parents don't really care? Because a big thing now is like parents will give their like 2-year-old kid a tablet and just do nothing with them and then leave them alone. Do you think that sort of causes this effect of these kids in their basements where the parents just don't care enough? And then they play these video games. Like, do you think the root cause is video games, or do you think it's the root cause of like parenting?
it's hard for me to judge another parent. I think the majority of parents do the best they can with what they have at the time in raising their children.
Yeah.
But I think I would never put a tablet in front of a kid. Again, you're reacting to something that's inanimate for the most part. It's not real, and I think that can be dangerous. But I also think parents have it much more difficult today. When I was raising my kids, they went to school, they were safe. I didn't worry about it. They played in the street till after dark, and sometimes, till dark, and sometimes till after dark, and I didn't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
But today's parents have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very scary. No matter where your kids are, there's a danger now in the United States. You can't go food shopping. You can't go to a clothing store without the potential of being there for violence. I think it's very scary for parents today, for anybody today, but for parents especially.
Yeah, and I think that's a good. I mean, the sort of the kid in the basement thing I sort of want to bring up again, because I think, the argument on one of these sides is that guns aren't the problem; it's mental issues, and obviously mental health is a big part of it. But these video games aren't just in America. They're in Europe, they're in Asia, they're all around the world, and there probably is a bunch of these kids in their basement, in their mom's basement, playing video games because they don't have access to guns.
But
they're not shooting.
They don't have access to guns.
That's what I'm saying.
We do, right. And I lost my train of thought. They don't have access to guns. I'm sure their games are more regulated, and parents in a lot of these countries have different priorities.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're more regulated. Financially, yes. Like I know in like a lot of the Nordic countries, they banned like loot boxes because technically gambling. In America, you can no one really does it anymore, but you legally can have loot boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But like the violence there is regulations even here. Like you can put on like non-graphic mode, so you don't show like blood or anything like that. But that's an option. It's not like a federally required thing. But yeah, I think your parents.
But you're
also
missing the point. The United States is known for its mass murders.
Yeah.
Other countries are not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is my point.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's true.
So what else would you like to know from your old grandma?
I don't know. I talk to you a lot.
You do talk a lot.
What do you? Okay, esports. Do you think that?
What are you saying?
Esports. You know what esports are?
I have no idea. Oh, esports?
Yeah. So like professional gaming.
Talk with a New York accent so I can understand you.
I don't have any. I'm from New Hampshire.
Mm.
Do you? I mean, I guess. Do you think it should even be considered a sport? That's like a big.
You're talking about sports gambling?
No. Esports is like gaming, like professional video games, like competitive.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know that much about it, but
I mean, it makes a lot of money.
I'd rather see teams playing in flesh and blood and not on a computer.
Well, they are. They're in person, but they're on the computer. You know what I mean?
No.
So most competitive esports events, well, at least before COVID, were LAN, which is local area network. That's what it stands for. So normally, if it's like Call of Duty, it's 5v5. and so you have 10 computers set up, and it's real life people that are sitting across from each other, but they're just on the game.
What, are they avatars? I'm not understanding this.
So, say there is like computers in real life. There's 5 computers over there, and 5 computers over here with like monitors and stuff.
Right.
So there'd be 5 real people over there and 5 real people over here, and a crowd. Like there's been a crowd of like 10,000 people for like League of Legends and stuff like that. That's a little more.
But
people.
who's playing?
People.
An avatar?
Like real people. They're playing the game against each other.
Oh. So it'll be like Call of Duty, but they're playing against each other, and then this is audience watching?
Yeah, well, because there's like tens of thousands of dollars in the lines and the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. To me, that sounds. I'd rather go to a game. That's just my opinion. But if they're having fun, they're not hurting anyone. It's a limited amount of time. They're not in their basements. Go ahead.
Yeah, because gaming, it does create, for some, it creates that social avenue, because there's not a lot of people that would have gone out if that hadn't been a thing. Even like, you know, like they have the Comic Cons and the expos of like gaming and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And gaming has helped a lot of people come out of their shell, I think. So I think I think it's done more good for people. Was
this gaming via cosplay?
No, it's just people who like video games. They like watching video games. They go to like Overwatch. The game of Overwatch. They're run by a company called Blizzard. They I don't think they have in the past couple of years, but it's called BlizzCon, and it's all these like fans of Overwatch. Like when they released McCree or Cassidy, is it because McCree like raped a bunch of people, so they had to change the name. That's a whole other story. There's like 20,000 people for the release of one virtual character in this game. They were like waiting for it to come out.
I'm so unimpressed. I'm just so unimpressed.
I mean,
Would you participate?
I don't like Overwatch, but if Apex Legends did something like that, which they don't, they wouldn't because their games are a little different. But if they had a system like Overwatch, I would.
I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, obviously.
So there we are. Is it generational, or is it intellectual, or is it?
I don't think it's intellectual. I think it's just generational. I think, you guys, your generation went to protests and weed conventions, and we go to.
We didn't have weed. First of all, let me correct you. We did not have weed conventions. It was not legal, and our government was throwing people in jail.
Weed get-togethers.
So that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing? The conventions.
Like we had a lot of protests, which I guess we do too now.
We did.
But yours actually meant a little more.
Well, I've taken you to protest.
Yeah, but the ones back then were.
You protested against gun violence. You protested for gay rights.
Yeah.
And you protested against hate.
No, yeah, I'm not saying there's a protest now, but I think with like social media, our protests mean a little less than they did in your generation.
Well, not that they mean less. I think when you can get enough people together and make enough noise, it means just as much. You can vote now, and I think that's important, very important. And the rest of your generation has to get out there and vote and to make change. I mean, it amazes me that we still don't have protection of school children in this country. That there are still threats that happen daily, that the violence continues, children are still being murdered, and a lot of your generation is sitting home playing with avatars. That's not going to change the world, in my opinion. That's not going to change the world.
Right.
And we keep electing, and it's your generation and mine, we keep electing the same ineffectual, anti-everything.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I don't know if that's our, yeah, I mean.
They're owned by the NRA, or they accept money from the NRA, and that's why part of the reason why there's still gun violence. And games like you play glorify it.
Yeah. Kind of switching topic, because I did mention Blizzard, and that Blizzard, yeah, that's the company's name.
Enunciate for old
Blizzard.
People.
That's the company that makes Overwatch, and one of the characters in their game was named McCree, and Blizzard is a kind of fuck. They're not a great company. He basically like had a bunch of sexual assault cases, and they had to change the name. But what I'm getting at is there's a lot of misogyny in the video game space.
So why hang out there?
Well,
it doesn't make sense. I mean, there has to be a moral compass for your generation, and it can't be self pleasure. Can't be the only direction on your compass.
But I think
and I don't
that's
mean yours personally. I'm talking about
no. I think
generationally.
self pleasure has become a moral compass for a lot of my generation.
Mm-hmm.
Because video games, I mean, just not video games, but technology in general has made us so, I guess the word's addicted to it.
Hedonistic.
What is that, like?
When you're a hedonist.
Oh, okay, yeah. And we become so addicted to technology to where our moral compass has become, I don't care what it does as long as it gives me that dopamine effect of screen time.
Yeah, it's a rush.
And mindlessness. Yeah.
Well, I'm not advocating for any type of marijuana use, but at least if you smoke a joint, you can still get out there and fight.
Yeah.
For the rights of people. If you're stuck at home, glued to your computer, that can't happen.
Yeah.
And that's not. I mean, that's kind of making kind of global statements. But there are people from your generation that are getting out there and they're activists and they're working on change, and we need that desperately.
Yeah.
I'm heartsick at the world I'm leaving behind. I'm heartsick at the world I'm leaving behind your generation, especially when my generation fought so hard for so many issues, from civil rights to anti-war. You know, it runs the gamut, and now my generation is dying out, and we're leaving a mess. Mm-hmm. Heartbreaking.
Yeah, sorry, I said I'd check the audio real quick. Okay.
Why don't you check what we have so far?
No, it's fine. I just want to make sure it's okay. Try to see how it's like. Just try and keep it a little close if you can.
First, I'm talking too loud. Now I'm not
okay,
talking loud enough.
I'm new to this. Okay, really, give me a.
I just can't make this kid happy.
Okay. There's something else I want to talk about.
Maybe it's my microphone.
No, your mic is fine. We can hear you fine. It's not. I just want to make sure it was like consistently going through. There's something I was gonna say. I forget what it was. Oh, the social movement part. Yeah, there's a lot of. I'm very. I always thought it was kind of dumb, the whole media protest idea. Like, obviously it's good when you can get the word out to a mass amount of people, but that whole, like, black square thing was probably the least effective thing. Remember the whole black square thing?
No.
When Black Lives Matter started, you posted a black square on Instagram. It was supposed to show your solidarity.
I'm not on I'm not on Instagram, so I can't. I didn't.
It was basically just a bunch of people who don't really care that wanted to show that they did care by doing this. It was just a bunch of bullshit. But my point is,
well, it doesn't take any effort. I mean, again, you don't have to leave the house.
As I'm saying, in these video games, you know, you've heard of Fortnite, right? Everyone's heard. In Fortnite, like 2 years ago, it was hilarious. Not hilarious. It was a good idea. It was just the execution of it was kind of blind. Like, it wasn't very sensitive. And there's this thing called Fortnite Creative where you can kind of make whatever you want. And the actual company who makes the game decided to do a Martin Luther King memorial on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And it was, I get what they were trying to do, but they don't understand their audience. And kids would go into like the memorial and there's an emo where you have like a crack whip, like as Catwoman. And they would start going into that and just doing the crack whip emote.
Well, wait a minute. Are they, was it Catwoman or was it a cracker down south? Do you know what a cracker is?
No, it was a whip. It was a whip.
Right, and you know how a whip cracks?
Yeah.
So when you when the slaves in the fields picking cotton when the headmaster wanted them to move a little quicker, he'd crack his whip on their backs.
Yeah.
And you'd hear that crack.
Yeah.
And that's where the term down south of cracker came from. It's a derogatory term for white people now. He's a cracker. But it also is the sound of the whip is very terrifying. It was very terrifying to African Americans. Because that's part of how they were controlled. So were they going in cracking a whip like Catwoman, or were they cracking a whip like the crackers did?
Like the crackers did, like a white man. It was the issue. It created the video games created
gave them a platform to be racist.
It fueled the fire. It's kind of like
it gave them a platform to be racist.
And that's not their goal was, but people are awful, and they fuck things up. And I think,
well, that's another thing. People, they're all brave and big mouth when they can hide behind an avatar or hide behind a fake screen persona and not be them real selves. And I found a lot of times, I'm on Facebook, you can back people down when you push because they're full of malarkey.
Yeah.
They're just very brave when they can't be seen or their identity's not known.
Yeah. That's a big issue, especially with Call of Duty. They've gotten a little better with regulations about like hate speech and stuff like that, but it's still very difficult. Like back in the day, a big thing was like, oh, you wouldn't survive like an MW2 lobby. That was like a game in like 2012 or whatever. And like the issue is like they say it as a joke, like, oh, you're too much of a pussy to survive this, but we're not a pussy. We're just like, we don't want you saying the N word and the K word and the F word like at these people. Like I understand it was like an edgier time, but like it was just crazy. Like the video games really did create this like platform of racism, anti-Semitism, and homophobia.
Well, they didn't say they created it, because there's always been anti-Semitism.
It instigated this platform,
and there's always been racism, but and homophobia too.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it gives people a identity-less platform to open their big fucking mouths and yap.
And I think it separates themselves from their words. It allows them to separate themselves from the words when they're saying it through a screen, because it's not them saying it, it's the game saying it. Like it's not them actually saying it to these people, it's them saying it to a game, which then the game said it to them. So sort of it lessens the blow of the impact that they think their words have on people.
It shields them.
Yeah.
Was that a yawn?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I thought you were going to cough. And I was going to clear my throat because I have a frog in it.
You can. Just don't do it in the mic. It'll be really loud.
I know, right? I'm no Howard Stern.
Yeah.
So what else you want to talk about that you can bring back to gaming?
I don't know. We don't have to, like, bring it back to game. I think there is, I don't know. I like games. There is a lot of games that are about literature, or not just literature, but that have, like, literary-esque, like, themes. I don't know.
Like Little Women?
No, it's more like about like the what is humanity kind of thing. There's a lot of those out there that I think.
Well, don't you think these games desensitize you to humanity?
Not all of them. I think there's some that give more meaning to humanity. There's one. It's a horror game. It's not. It's called Soma.
I have to interrupt you. I don't think my mic is working.
No, it is.
As well as yours. That's you, not me.
Here, I'll put yours on real quick.
Can you cut this out, or it's going to be here?
Speak.
Hello, Alec. I love you.
You're fine.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, you're fine.
You keep shaking the table though.
Sorry.
Gonna make people nauseous. What was the name of that movie where they shook the camera?
What?
There was a movie where the camera shook. It was a Halloween movie.
Like the whole movie, the camera
yeah.
shook?
People were getting nauseous watching it.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Like it was a horror movie, right?
Yeah. I have to wait for Mom to come back.
Yeah, I don't know.
Want me to look it up?
Yeah, you can. That's fine.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I think it's the Blair Witch Project.
Oh.
And
Well, there's Blair Witch Project. There's also Cloverfield.
I didn't see Cloverfield.
Yeah, Blair. It was like a documentary style. Yeah, the mockumentary.
And the camera kept shaking, and people were throwing up from the camera shaking.
Yeah. Wait, why? How'd you? Oh, because of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, there's games like Soma that it gives. I feel like it gives more meaning to humanity, and I think.
Well, look. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
What field are you interested in?
Humanities, like I like psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you want to help people?
I don't know if I want to help people. I want to deal with people.
What the hell does that mean?
Like,
fuck does that mean?
Like I want to work in the field of people.
So do you want to be a psychologist?
I don't know. Like research seems interesting, like doing psychological research.
That's helping people either way.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know if I want to be like a psychiatrist is what I mean.
Well, that's medical school.
Yeah, that's why I don't know if I want to do that.
So I think you'd make a good counselor.
You gotta speak a little closer to them, like that.
I think you'd make a good counselor. I'm telling you, this mic is not working.
It is.
I think you'd make a good counselor. You seem empathetic. I thought at one point you were talking about immigration law.
Yeah, I mean immigration law. Yeah, that is one
I have
thing.
to try to clear my throat. Excuse me.
That's fine.
It's one of those days. Allergies.
Yeah. No. All right. I upped the.
Yeah, but you've got all this on tape now.
Whoopsies. Sorry, guys. Fucked that up. Okay, we're back. Don't worry.
We're back.
Okay. Where were we? What were we talking about?
What you wanted to be when you grow up.
Oh. Yeah. I don't know.
Let's play a game. Let's make believe I'm dead. What would you say about me?
What would I say about you?
Yeah, my grandmother. Do my eulogy.
All right, we'll end with that because it's 40 minutes now. Unless you want to keep going after that.
I'll go forever. You know me. I could just
I feel like
talk.
if you want to be on again, you have something to talk about. So we'll end with your eulogy.
Okay, that's good.
That'll be a good end of the first episode. Sorry, I can't keep shaking. And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
So your eulogy. Eulogies are like speeches, right?
Yeah, like what would you say after I was dead? You know, I'm laying there in the coffin. Look, here. Morte. Gestorft. Done. Over. Last breath. They say, Alec.
Just at the funeral?
Speak at your grandmother's funeral. What would you say about her? What's the highlight of her life with you?
I would say that she was very tough, but it gave me lessons to be a better person.
True.
I don't know. It's a weird question. I don't know what I'd say. I mean, I don't know. Most of your friends are dead, so like I wouldn't give like testimonies of your friends that they had with you because they're all dead.
A couple of them were still kicking.
So like I don't know. What would you want me to say? I guess I don't know.
Get out of the way. I'll do my own fucking eulogy.
Well, what do you want me to say?
My grandmother was the person I loved most in this world, and she loved me the most. She was caring and giving and generous, and she was the funniest person I know. Go ahead, repeat it.
I'm gonna be honest. I was kind of not listening. My grandma was what?
Oh, fuck it.
No, what was it? My grandma was...
I'm done. We're done. Cut.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys. I mean, if you did listen this far, thank you.
We'll be back with more intelligent conversation shortly.
Yeah, next episode I should have a friend on.
No, it's going to be me again.
No,
It is going to be me again.
It's a professional League of
I
Legends
could do
player.
better. This was just my first time out.
Yeah, this is my second time. So, all right. Well, thank you. And
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Hasta la pasta.
Okay, great job.